We back. Man, I felt like, did I have some panic happening? My internet decided to turn off for like 2 minutes, for like 30 seconds. Allie, how did it get wild? I feel like the last thing I read, Erica goes, yikes, I'm scared now. And then all of a sudden I got kicked off and I was like, oh no, she's going to be super triggered. Everyone was freaking out. Oh, 30 seconds of pure panic. I'm so tired, so it's making me laugh. Whoo! I'm glad we're feeling better, guys. If you don't know what you got till it's gone. In paradise, we put up a parking lot. I say parking lot, maybe it's parking light. I never know that song very well. There's certain songs from my childhood that I don't know very well, except for to say that, like, I know what I thought the lyric was, even though it's super not it. Can anyone send me a screenshot of those conversations? You might want to tell them on the other live stream that we're back over here, because I had to start a whole new one, so that was a thing. Oh. Airports could have a high range, yes. People will travel like from out of state to go to a different airport. Thanks, Jillian. You told them we were over here. It's not funny that you guys all panicked, but there's a part of me, Allie, yes, Disney World has a huge range. In fact, it's so my best trip to Disney World I ever had, and it's gonna make me laugh because kids are gonna jump on this and be like, and we come and Miss Bucket's talking about Disney because good times. But the best Disney trip I ever had was actually when I was it's like my second year teaching, and we went to God, where did we go to? Oh, we went to Disneyland Paris because my dad was living in Paris at the time, and nobody goes to Paris to go to Disney. Disneyland Paris is like strictly for like Europeans who want to take their kids to Disney. That's like really what it's for. But no one goes to Paris and says, let's go to Disney Paris. Like no one has that thought. My family did though, because we were traveling with my niece and nephew, and my niece was like a year old, so we didn't bring her. But we brought my nephew, and he was like 3, and it was like really cute. It was precious. And it was like, guys, it was July, but we had like coats on because it was kind of chilly, but none of the schools had gotten out yet. So like there wasn't any bad lines. It was like the most glorious thing in the world. Airports have high range. Yes. Who is the Senate? I keep calling you the Senate, but I don't know who you are, the Senate. I'm going to stop responding to you until you tell me what your name is so I know who you are. Yeah, y'all just send me screenshots of those conversations because I'm a little bit excited to read them later. What was the purpose of the French long lot system? A local pizza shop have a low range. Honestly, Allie, it depends on what kind of pizza it is, because like some people are really particular about their pizza. Some people are like really particular about their pizza, and so some people are willing to like travel extra far to get like, oh, a slice of this kind of pizza. But it's not about like I'm willing to travel 2 hours to get Pizza Hut. That's generally not what the thing is. Number 33. What was the purpose of the French long lot system? It was access to water, to a river specifically. And basically, what you have there is you have like, if this is the river, you don't want like one person taking up the whole thing and being like, "This is my farm," and they take up like the whole thing. Oh no, it's loading. Oh geez, maybe my internet's terrible. Um, But you're gonna want to like divide up the land. So now instead we have like these really long lots, and they like trickle down, and they have like these long strips of land. And that is in your textbook, 12.12. It shows pictures too, so I recommend looking at that if you didn't know what that was. Camilla, example for low range would be like a gas station or a convenience store, things that you can kind of get anywhere. What are clustered rural settlements found in? Where are clustered rural settlements found in America? So in this case, that would be like in New England when they set New England up like they did. They wanted to have like a religious center, so like church and the church is at like the center with the town square. Think of like if you've seen Gilmore Girls, those of you who haven't watched the first episode, it's a good example of this. And then I just added joy and value to you. Um, mm-hmm. Da, da, da. But it's anything that has like a town square, and especially like New England, because of how like people used to not be able to they used to like ride their like horse and buggy into town, and when you rode your horse and buggy into town, that's where you took care of things. So everything was like in the town square. Whereas they lived further out. Give an example of a business with a high threshold. Give an example of a business with a low threshold. So high threshold would be like I can throw that convenience store example around a lot. Things that have like a high threshold, like you need a lot of people coming in, a lot of customers to justify how many you have, is a convenience store. Whereas a low would be like a plastic surgeon. A plastic surgeon doesn't need a whole lot of patients. He just needs enough. Low threshold is not low threshold. Blockbuster would actually be high threshold. Low would be a lemonade stand. Oh, depends on what your low threshold business would be. A business that has more expensive things like Chanel, so they need less customers to keep the company going. Mostly because what they sell is so expensive that they don't need a whole lot of people to buy it. They just need the right people to buy it. Plastic surgeons don't need a whole lot of people to come in and get plasticked. They just need a few. Whereas convenience stores are going to need, especially to compete with other convenience stores, they need a gimmick or more people to come into theirs. All right, where's the best location for a service in a linear community? That was like the example we saw where it was like house. I'm going to just draw triangles for houses. That makes me happier. House, 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 house. And it was like, hey, so where should we draw the You want it to be in the median. So wherever like the middle thing is, that's where it goes. Even if like your middle thing is like more scrunched over here, it goes in the median. In a linear community, it goes in the median. Good job. Temi said, so low threshold is a business that can easily make money even with a few customers due to their ridiculously high prices. Absolutely. What shape do geographers use to represent market areas? Hexagons. Samika, yes, that's the pizza one. Okay, Antonio, threshold is less people but lots of money. Hexagon because they nest and they're equal to, and they have like an equal, they have a more equal distance from the center, yes. Okay, rank size rule. I like the way this is actually explained here. It is, you have like the nth largest city is 1/nth the largest. So in this theory, the fifth largest city equals 1/5 the largest city. This is the stairs one. Yes, Camilla. This one is linear. Like it looks like a line. That does not look like a line, but kind of. Now, primate cities is where you have one large city in a country and then more than double the population of the, like, you only have one large city in the entire country. So that would be like, you have one, let's say you had 900,000. And your next largest city is less than half of that. So your next largest city is like 300K. Okay, so Erica's question about where do you see rank size rule? Rank size rule, you're most likely to see in MDCs because the wealth is more spread out. It happens sometimes in, like, primate cities sometimes happen in MDCs just because of the way that they're developed, but less developed countries tend to have primate cities because their country as a whole isn't fully developed. Number 39, I wouldn't call it nonlinear population size among cities. I would say that you only have one large city in a country, and then it is more than double the population of the next largest city. England is kind of like a primate with London, like London, and maybe they have like one or two other big cities, but it's not like they have a whole ton of them. But yeah, the UK is a good example of that. Let's see, let's kind of see the parallels there. Okay, so Antonia, I shall do my best. So rank size rule would be like, first of all, you have examples in your notes. You do have examples in your notes. Erica, that's true. So in a rank size rule country, you'd have like, you'd have country A. And country A is top city has a million people. So when we have our little chart or whatever, a million people. Well, the next largest city, city B here, has like 500,000. And then your next largest city over here, your next largest city over here is going to be at 30, that would be like 30, or like your fourth largest city, maybe about half of that, so that'll be like 250,000. Then your next largest city is going to be, or your one down here, when you get down to it again, you have to again, it's going to be like 125. So then you kind of have this like linear look of the things. Whereas in a primate city, and this is rank size. And these represent different cities. And then in a primate city, it would be like, you have country B, first of all. And with country B, you would have, we'll start it off with a million as well. That's your largest city. But then your next largest city is like 250,000. And then from there, it kind of like peters down to almost like nothingness. And so you have like it's like I told you guys, like you're here and then you like do a big shoot. It's like your population drops, and then all the other cities are really small. Rank size cities are linear. Primate would be non-linear. Linear, yeah. Please know that this like thing that I drew here was just for like to show you the population drop. It's not like an additional weird thing. So for primate, is it because one city or two are mostly industrial? Because it's in an LDC? Absolutely, Antonia. That is like where you have an LDC who is beginning to industrialize, but all the work is in like one or two big places. That's why there's a big difference, yes. Because the country as a whole is not super industrialized. Think of like China. China is a huge country, and it has some very, very developed, very, very developed cities, but it also has cities that are like super not developed. That's all I got to say about that. Name that movie. And it was like slow motion. Standing there in the body Guys, it is like so comical to me. When I look at my phone, I can see like as soon as like I get notifications as soon as someone turns something in late, and at like 5:01 I started getting my notifications about things being turned in, and it was really funny. Antonia, and it ties to outsourcing. Ties to outsourcing kind of because there's excess late. There's usually a lot of cheap labor in those places because everyone's there trying to get a job and trying to make money. It's not really a factor of this difference. It's more of like something that happens because there's all this labor and not enough jobs. All right. Next up, describe bulk gaining industry. Where would it locate near? Bulk gaining industry. We've talked about this earlier. Bulk gaining locates near the market. Think gain grocery store. Because it's cheaper to move a short distance. Erica, yes, you're correct. There is a lot of industrial centers that it would create a linear like structure, and then it would kind of like peter off towards the end. You're making total sense, Erica. Yes, China is a weird one because China has some very industrialized areas and some areas that are really not. That was an example that I said because in my head I was trying to like think of a place that you guys know of that like this has a really big city and then everything else is not so big. A lot of times we forget that China has a lot of really small countries, and if we were, or a lot of small cities, and if we were to look at China as a whole, I think that it would look more nonlinear. Would this be, where do we keep seeing outsourcing? Why do we keep talking about outsourcing? Yes, Ushna. MDC companies hire independent call centers in India for their affordable prices. Yeah. Because they speak English. They even like have them give themselves like American names, which I always think is interesting. Like, what do you want to be? My name's Steve. Cool, Steve. Okay. Describe bulk producing. Thank you, Jillian. Tell me which one the outsourcing question was. I was like, everyone keeps asking me about outsourcing. I thought we answered that. If you didn't know, it's in 12.34. Describe bulk reducing. Reducing is close to raw materials or input. Why are raw materials are the heaviest and most expensive to move? Describe a country with a primate city. What are two positive effects or two negative effects? Describe a country with a primate city. That would be, you have, like we said, one large city. A positive effect, it's efficient and capital. Because everything is kind of in one place, that means everything kind of pulls together. Everything kind of pulls together. Like there's not a whole lot of division. Like in Texas, there's not a whole lot of division. Like in Texas, because we have so many large cities, it actually tends to divide up our state more. Especially you talk to Houstonians about people from Dallas, they have a lot of feelings. Negative, only one economic hub. Other areas could feel neglected. Negative, uneven distribution of sources and services. Describe a country with a rank size rule. One positive effect, one negative effect. Many large cities follow the pattern. The nth largest is the 1/nth the size of the largest. So for this one, I'm not going to rewrite this again. You guys can rewrite it. Positive, you spread out development, but it is less efficient. You distribute development, but the negative is it's less efficient as a country because the population is so spread out. Is automobile? Oh, I'm so tired. That's what this tells me. Is the auto industry bulk gaining or bulk reducing? It is, in fact, bulk gaining. It is bulk gaining because lighter parts combine to make a heavier final product. Where would the automobile industry locate near? It locates close to markets, and its markets are primarily in the U.S. Erica, I want to say you asked me about this today, and I wasn't entirely sure. But it locates near the markets, which are in the U.S. Which country has the biggest market for automobiles? The U.S. We have the best infrastructure for it, for sure. Why would foreign countries open up automobile factories in the U.S.? To be closer to market, have cheaper transportation, skilled labor, and capital. For the previous question, can a negative effect be the high population? You have to do. Antonia, I think you're talking about for that would make sense for the rank size rule one, yeah. Why would foreign countries open up automobile factories in the U.S.? Closer to market. Cheaper transport because you're not having to ship them overseas. And skilled labor and capital. All right. You're going to ask me to move this up because it's not moved up for you. It's funny because you're going to hear me say, Tamika just said, can you move the paper up, please? I just said, somebody's going to ask me to move the paper up in a minute. I predict things. Any other questions you guys got? Y'all, look over your notes. in the Google Classroom, look at Unit 6. Look at the notes and videos. Let me higher cost of transport if it's in the U.S. No, it would not be a higher cost of transport if it's in the U.S. because you're closer to everywhere that it's traveling to. And it'd be more expensive to bring them over from other places. At the not transport, but transport wouldn't be more expensive. But production would be more expensive. But because cars already are so expensive, that kind of reneges that fact. Let me look, Camilla. I don't think there's anything that's going to jump out and surprise you. Why is industry more clustered than agriculture throughout the world? Yes, Antonia, materials are from the U.S. You sure you know site and situation factors? 11.34 show up a lot. Know the difference between site and situation. Know about Europe and Central Europe and Europe versus the United States and different kinds of production. Remember that like situation has to do with transportation. You probably know the early like business services. Like when we have like the hunters and the gatherers, probably the earliest form of business that was done was like trading of food. That's really it. If you go watch those overviews, because right after I took the test and whatever I got wrong, especially, I talk about in those overviews in the Google Classroom. All right. Anything else? I'm going to stay on for 2 more minutes. The maquiladoras don't show up, but you need to know what they are. The one about the hexagons was D. It was D. You guys are right. I just marked the wrong one. The more I looked at it, I was like, I think it's D, but I was being silly. So the question, the one about hexagons, that was the one where it said like why a hexagon, and it's because generally it's a better model because they nest, things like that. The 4 tigers. The 4 tigers. You don't need to know those for your test, but you should know those. You don't need to know them for your test yet, so I'm not going to worry about the things. Erica, do you need to know all the theories? You need to understand what they are, but you don't need to necessarily like be able to recite the theory for the test. Okay, guys, I'm going to roll out. Peace out. You guys have a wonderful things in this stuff. Have a good one. Get some sleep. I'm going to go off live now. Oop, that's not it. Wah-wah. Wah-wah, that one.